because Juwan Howard, got into a little bit of trouble. We're going to talk about the punishment, I guess, that was brought upon. I guess we're, whatever you want to call it. People have some thoughts on it. I have some thoughts on it. It was talked about with Brad and Nathan, but we're going to discuss all that today. I apologize for maybe if there's a pause in some of this. There are some technology issues. If you're trying to watch this on YouTube, more power to you. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit the like button and the subscribe button. Helps get the video and the podcast out there. Having computer issues, having internet issues, you guys know how it goes. The audio side of things should be good. Wherever you listen to your podcast in audio form, please follow it and rate it and be a friend, tell a friend, all that good stuff. So if there's some technical difficulties from the video side, I do apologize. Just, me and technology sometimes don't get along. I appreciate you. The podcast is also brought to you by the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network. If you go to bellyupsports.com, check out all the podcasts and blogs and everything else out there. There's stuff out there other than sports for people, so go check that out. This podcast is also brought to you by Coach Stone Football. It is back to the basics, books and drills. If you go to coachstonefootball.com, you can check out his back to the basics manuals. Us football coaches, we're trying to get more simpler. We're not good at English. I'm no English major. I'm no mathematician. So go to coachstonefootball.com, check out back to the basics drills and manuals. You will never have to look up another drill again. I promise you. Thank you, Coach Stone, for sponsoring the podcast. So people have had some thoughts on Juwan Howard's situation. Me and Brad and Nathan on the last time I had a podcast, I took a day off. Things going on. Things are going to get crazy. I've accepted a assistant baseball job, whether or not people care or not. I've accepted an assistant baseball coach spot. So it's going to be a little more challenging. That's what I've been trying to do, is figure that out and to get that approved and paperwork in, and all that. So never coached baseball before. So here we go. How you doing? Keep it moving. So we talked about Juwan Howard last time. Now, me and Brad and Nathan talked, and during the time we were talking about we'd be okay with a 5-game suspension. And I think we were talking, and I don't want to put words in their mouths, we were talking about like a minimum of the rest of the regular season. We even talked about, should he be suspended for the rest of the Big Ten tournament, or like a game into it. And we kind of leaned towards that. We said we'd be okay minimum, the rest of the season, because like Illinois, I believe, has 3 games left. Michigan's going to have 5. So that's 5 games he cannot be there. But then the more thinking about it, the more I was listening to other people talk about it and seeing the actual things that happened. A part of me goes, yeah, maybe it should have been more. Now, I will sit here and say, should he have been fired? No. But one thing I want to make crystal clear, people said that if this was not a recurring thing, he would have been fired. Well, this is a recurring thing. He has made aggressive comments, like last year during the COVID year. This is not, he's tried to fight a coach before and got into this confrontation. And again, should any of this have happened? No. And he was pushed back. Now, like I said, would anybody have been in trouble if he never would have thrown one hand to the face, smack? If he would have done that, probably would have been okay. But the fact that he did it, okay, then you got some of his players throwing haymakers and everything else. So would I have been okay with it if he was fired? Yes, I would have been okay because of his past and because of what happened. Would that be a little bit over the top? Maybe, but you would understand it. One thing that I really was a little bit shocked about was that Michigan didn't try to get ahead of this. Michigan should have just said, we're going to suspend him on our own. And then maybe the NCAA would have said, hey, it's okay. Or do something, or just say, we're going to suspend him for at least the rest of the regular season, and talk to NCAA. The NCAA could have said, hey, or the Big Ten, and said, hey, we think that's appropriate. And it shows that Michigan is on top of it and that they care and all that good stuff. but they didn't. It actually took till Monday night or Tuesday of it when it happened on that Sunday. And so it took them a little bit. Like, what are you talking about? I believe they're meeting about it, but what meeting do you have to have? What film do you have to look at to be like, okay, there was a confrontation. He smacked an assistant coach in the face where he really wanted to punch him, and at that split second, like, open his hand and bam. And one thing that makes this worse is right afterwards, he has excuses. He made excuses saying, this guy touched me, put his hand on my forearm. And everybody's out there like, when a grown man puts their hands on you, you have to defend yourself. That coach did not put his hands on you. If you watch, which we will pull it up again here, Juwan Howard puts his hands on his chest and like grabs him. This guy just kind of pulled him in with his arm and like wanted to talk about the timeout. And let's talk about that. Juwan Howard, coach your team and let him or another coach his team. If he does something you don't like, that now it has to be like this huge egregious thing that you've ever seen before you go talking to another coach. If a coach is up by 20 and has the starters in and is pressing, yeah, you probably have the right to say something to that guy. You know what I'm talking about? If a team is running up the score, which we have to define what run up the score is, but if he's got third stringers in and they're still scoring, it's not run up the score. If he has the starters in and he's up by 20, he's got 5 minutes left, 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left, he's up by 20, 30, and he's got starters in, they're coming in, running these plays, whatever it is, you have the right to say something to a coach. But here's the problem. If you don't want what the other if you don't want certain things to be done to you, don't do it. So don't keep 3 of your starters in with a minute left while you're down by 20 or whatever it was, and you're full court pressing. If you're full court pressing and the other coach has his young players in, and it's a learning moment when they're about to get their 10-second call or whatever it is, he called a timeout. If you are allowed in the game of basketball to keep your starters in because there's no rules that say you can't keep them in, and you are allowed to full court press, don't throw a hissy fit or pout like a little baby that you are, Juwan Howard, because you are a fake tough guy. And get mad when that coach calls a timeout to help coach the bench players that don't get in as much because they're younger or there's better players. Don't get mad at that coach for doing the job that they pay him millions to do. Worry about your team. Worry about you trying to get in the NCAA tournament. Right now, you're kind of fighting for the outside looking in, but at the same time, you're fighting for an NIT and you are just pissed about it. You're pissed about the type of season you are having. You're pissed about some of the way that you're not winning like you were predicted to do this year because you were Big Ten Coach of the Year and you won the regular season Big Ten last year and got booted out. Illinois won the Big Ten, and you're supposed to be the next Messiah at Michigan and everything else. Juwan Howard pulled a punk move. I will say it. And the excuses of when a grown man puts their hands on you, defend yourself. I agree with that. If Gregg, the coach over Wisconsin, in that line came up, grabbed him by the zipper and pulled him in and said, listen here, you son of a bitch, then you have the right to put your hands on him. But Juwan Howard, you didn't even smack or swing at him. You went after an assistant coach. I don't know what he said. He said something about your mama. He said something about grandma, whatever. You are supposed to be a leader of men, young men in college at Michigan, which we've talked about Michigan, but it is nonetheless a prestige institution, especially of athletics. And you acted that way. So I'm not surprised that your players later on during the scruffle threw haymakers like boom, 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 boom. And then you have the nerve afterwards to talk about the Wisconsin team. You have the nerve to say, I'm from the South Side of Chicago. This is how we do, What? You're making excuses for your actions. You're the grown adult. You are on the Fab Five. You played in the NBA. You understand that excuses don't get things done, but you chose that route anyway. If right after that happened, even after the smack, he went up to the podium and he said, I would like to apologize to my players for acting dumb. I would like to apologize to my coaches, my players, the University of Michigan, the athletic department for how I handled my emotions. That is not right. That's not what I'm here to do. I apologize to the entire Wisconsin bench, coaches, their administration. I apologize. I would like to personally go up to the coach and apologize and talk this thing out. I let my emotions get the best of me, and I will handle the punishment. You probably would not have been suspended 5 games. Probably. It probably would have taken into consideration. But the fact that you go up there and say, I'm from the South Side, this is how we handle things, or this is what we do, or this is that, making an excuse, you allowed emotions, okay? We tell kids to keep their emotions in check. And it just all came from a guy taking a timeout or whatever it was. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Coach your way and let them coach his way. That's where it comes down to. Because here's what I don't understand. We're going to watch it for the video and hopefully it works. Look, all he did was right there, stop. He's trying to tell him why he took the timeout. And there's a video out there talking about, you can kind of hear the audio when Juwan Howard's like, I'll fucking remember this, or I'll remember this. He went to shake his hand. All he did was grab up by the elbow and the bicep to try to explain. And then you can see Juwan Howard put his hands on him right there and starts grabbing him. And then they're getting after it and blah, 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 blah. And Juwan Howard's in his feelings because he got out coached. He's frustrated. He acts like a tough guy. He's from the South Side of Chicago. And right here where he takes the swing and hits that coach, whatever that coach said, I don't know what it was. But then right here, when your players see your coach do that, they're going to act the same way. So now they're going to shove. The players are now separated, but then you see Abate or whatever the hell his name is come in and throw some haymakers. Push, throw, boom, throw some punches, boom, boom, boom. And they're going to act like that. And now you as the head coach are getting held back. You're not trying to break it up because you're in your feelings. Be the adult. Be the adult. Grow up. We've all, as coaches, have gotten to a situation where we don't want to shake the other person's hand. Hell, I think I've seen a couple coaches just don't do it because they've been pissed off and they know it's going to escalate. But we've seen plenty of times where coaches get mad and they go do it anyway. Tom Izzo said it best. If you got your ass kicked, if you lose by 1, you lose by 2, you go shake their hand and say, good job. During COVID, we couldn't shake hands. We had to wave. But then this year, we got to shake hands again. Plenty of times got our ass kicked. Shook the hands on the other players and said, hey, good job, man. You deserved it. Good job, fellas. Go up to the coach. Hey, good job. Good luck the rest of the year. Basketball, people beat us. Close games or games that we shouldn't have lost. Coach, good job. And some teams thought they won the Super Bowl or the state championship when they beat us in basketball this year. That's just what it is. School coach basketball, I just hated. And you have to go shake their hand. Now they're talking about getting rid of the handshaking. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Grow up. So then they came. I don't know why people think, they grab the hand. They talk about put a grown, like people think that the Wisconsin coach should be suspended. He didn't do anything. He didn't swing. He didn't do this and that. You got Michigan fans again coming out of the woodwork saying this. You've got people on TV saying Juwan Howard was in the right to do that or something. Like, I don't know what we're doing. Are we condoning throwing punches and coaches doing this? You're going to pay millions of dollars to do this. Grow up. And then we came out with the punishment. University of Michigan, suspend Juwan Howard, remainder of the regular season, which is 5 games. We're going to fine him $40,000. I believe he's not paid during this time either. Student athlete Terrence Williams II is suspended 1 game for throwing some punches. And then Muse Debate suspended 1 game. Let's talk about the players. The one, Terrence Williams, I believe he threw 1 punch. It was a bad punch. 1 game, I think it should be more. Debate threw haymakers and only got 1 game. Now, my problem with this is Kofi Coburn was suspended. He came back to Illinois. It was found out that he sold a couple things that he signed or whatever, merchandise, but the money went to charities. The NCAA and Kevin Warren of the Big Ten suspended him for 3 games. So you get suspended for 3 games doing that because then right after that, the NIL came out, and so no more of that. You could throw haymakers. You could punch a player in the face. You can punch another coach and get 5 or 1 game. And Kofi gets 3 games. Kevin Warren is probably one of the worst commissioners of the Power Five, probably the worst Power Five commissioner. Kevin Warren knows nothing. He knows nothing how to handle the Big Ten. We saw it before COVID, then we saw it during COVID, and we're seeing it again with these type of suspensions, how long it took the suspension. And we're seeing how bad Kevin Warren is because of college football playoff, this pact that the rest of the Power Five is making. SEC don't care if there's ever an expansion of the college football playoff because they're going to get a team or two in every single year. Big Ten's like, maybe once in a while we get one in. Kevin Warren, we need a new Big Ten commissioner because he is god awful. He is terrible. I will throw my name in the hat and I will run that thing and we will get it going. So that right there tells me, because I'm sorry, sometimes you've got to make an example of something like this to show to never do it again. So that tells me another player is going to go out and throw a punch and say, I can afford it. It's one game. Instead of saying 5 games or 6 games or whatever, rest of the regular season or something to where they go, don't want to do that no more. So I don't agree with that. And we'll get to the Juwan Howard one here at the end. University of Wisconsin head coach Gregg Gard is fined $10,000. Okay, I guess because he had something to do with it, he can afford it. Student athlete Jacoby Neath, he threw a punch. He suspended 1 game. I said my piece just now about the Michigan one. So Juwan Howard, when I talked to Brad and Nathan, we had kind of agreed like, okay, rest of the regular season, okay. But the more I looked at it, the more I thought about it, and the more I listened to other people talk about it, and I start to think a little more. You need to set the precedent. Like, you need to set a standard. What's the standard? Michigan, Big Ten, or NCAA, whatever it is. Some people think it's appropriate for 5 games. And again, minimum, okay. Some people think it should have been the rest of this year. Like, no Big Ten tournament, no NIT, no NCAA tournament. And that would send the tone of, we never want to see a coach do it again, NCAA or Big Ten or whatever. We don't want to see this ever again. And I kind of agree. I kind of think that he got the minimum sentence. And they're fighting for an NCAA spot. I don't know if they'll get there, but they could lose the rest of these 5 games. They could lose these games because they don't have their head coach. They're going to be rattled a little bit. That's going to shake them to the core a little bit. I think he should have been suspended the rest of the regular season and the Big Ten tournament and just gone from there. And then some people say, well, then how can he come back for the NCAA tournament? I think it should be anywhere from 5 games to the rest of the year. But I'd like to have seen the rest of the regular Big Ten as well. Because then you as Michigan are putting this out there. Hey, you need help. Do you have anger issues? Do you whatever? We got to work on you. And this shows whoever's the future coach, he's ain't going to be there forever. The future coaches of Michigan, that we are not putting up with this. Big Ten or NCAA, I don't care. Kevin Warren won't do it because he's not tough enough. He doesn't have the gall. Nothing's dropped on him to be tough enough to do this. So NCAA would have to step in and say, we don't ever want to see this. We don't want to see this. It's one thing to get held back and shove or whatever, but throwing a punch, throwing a hand on a coach, we never want to see this again. So we're going to step in. You can't coach the rest of the year until next year. You're done. See ya. Goodbye. To send a message to coaches. But then it becomes, well, what if this happened at the beginning of the year? Would you suspend him for 20-some games? So I kind of maybe see why they want to do the rest of the regular season to say, hey, 5 games. So I think if maybe you wanted to send a big message, you do the rest of the regular season, the Big Ten tournament, and then maybe the first 5 games of next year. You can do the summer stuff, but then once a specific date hits, you can't be there. You could be recruited, you could be there in the summer to help establish and install, then you can't be there. Sometimes you have to put the hammer down first to stop other people from doing it. Like in school, if you get in a fight and you get a whole week suspension and you don't get to pass any of those assignments that were done and now your grade's affected, that could show other kids, don't get into a fight or don't do this, because now the standard is you're not going to be able to catch up on schoolwork. You're going to have to maybe reduce classes because of a mistake or whatever it was or something, or different tiers of, okay, you punch a coach, you're going to be suspended 10 games. So that could go into the Big Ten tournament or however counts. He's suspended 10 games. And that's what you could have done. You could have, instead of saying rest of the regular season, which is 5 games, you could say you're going to be suspended 8 games, and however long that is. These 5 in the regular season, how many do you play in the Big Ten tournament? So if Michigan wins, then they go on to the next round of the Big Ten tournament. Well, there's another game he's got to sit out. And it feeds over into the tournament and feeds over into the regular season. I think that would have been a better way. You're suspended 8 games. However long that takes. If it feeds in the next year, it feeds in the next year. So it kind of sets the tone for the coaches, and then say if there's another one, whether and you could be fired. If it's the next one, it's going to be 16. It's going to be 16 games. So now we're setting the tone and setting the standard of what your university is, or your whole institution, your conference, or whatever, NCAA or Big Ten. But Kevin Warren's terrible. And I think that sets the tone for people not to do it again. And so the people that think the Wisconsin coach has to be suspended or that he started it, no. Juwan Howard is a fake tough guy who was in his coaching fields because he got out-coached. We've all been out-coached. We've all been out-coached. We've all done something in the game because it's within the rules, but then the other coach combats it during a time where we don't like it. Oh, why do you call a timeout? I've been in that situation as a basketball coach or a football coach. Why do they call a timeout? Well, you have to understand it. And at the end of the day, stop him then. Or don't complain when the other coach is doing his job. When he get paid, especially in college, where he's getting paid millions of dollars to do, and his job is to help these guys. So when he's got subs in, they're getting pressured. He's going to call a timeout to help them figure out how to break the press, because that's his job. He's got to prepare even for next year. Coaches have to think ahead too. They're thinking of now, but they're thinking, got these young guys, if they can't break a press, oh my God. So we got to figure it out now. So Juwan Howard, you were in your feelings. Suck it up. Do your job. Worry about your job. Worry about your kids. Worry about your program, and worry about that stuff. Don't worry about anybody else. Worry about yourself. You're a fake tough guy. Quit making excuses. Do your job. Okay, hopefully the video worked. I think at the beginning we didn't have much, so I apologize for that. But if you're watching the video, God bless you. Please hit the like button and the subscribe button. If you're listening to the audio version, follow it, rate it, be a friend, tell a friend, all that good stuff. Check out all the affiliates in the description below. Thank you guys so much getting through for the technical difficulties. Check out weekly episodes. I'm going to try to make clips, so look out for that, where they're shorter clips of whatever they are, like clips of this, of rants and everything else. Be on the lookout for all that stuff. Thank you guys so much for listening and or watching. Be safe out there. Things are going crazy in the world. Prayers for everybody. Thank you guys so much. And until next time, this is Coach Steve on the Coach Steve Show podcast, and we are out of here.